Chinese cars explode on the streets of Moscow, and Vladimir Putin is happy. Childfree turns out to be Western tool sent to destroy Russia. Russian Ministry of Finance goes absolutely nuts. The wait for Lexus spare parts exceeds a year and a half in Russia now. Domestic airfare jumps in price by 8 times. A Russian senator wants to introduce capital punishment to Russia and kill the Russian people. And the biggest and saddest news of the week, Alexei Navalny is being hidden from his family, attorneys, and everyone by the police. No one knows where he is or even if he's still alive. Howdy everyone. My name is Konstantin and welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. Every Friday I give you crazy news updates straight out of Russia. First things first. Remember, there's no such absurdity that cannot be realized in Russia these days. I'll start with pretty unbelievable news today. Remember I told you a few days ago that in Russia, child-free is under fire. The basic human right to have or not to have children is under fire. Not just under fire. They want to criminalize child-free. So if Russians don't have kids, they would pay fines first and then they go to prison. Please don't take that as rumors. It is official. Check this video out.
Название под их явление. Пусть оно вместе с этим названием и умрет в нашей стране.
Да, хорошо бы, чтобы умерло, но вот, тем не менее, по существу речь идет, мы в своем кругу можем все-таки своими именами называть вещи, в своем кругу, да, потому что это просто пропаганда того, что мешает развитию нашего государства, нашей цивилизации. Вот.
It's not just little people talking, it's the senators, the ministers, the high-ranked public officials. They seriously discuss, not on public, but behind the closed doors, that child-free is a weapon sent to Russia by the evil West to destroy the country and eradicate the Russians. This is a very, very crazy news. They want to criminalize people for not having children, to strip them yet one more freedom, the very basic, the very fundamental human right. They don't think that people choose not to have children because they cannot afford to raise children in today's Russia. Russian government has destroyed them financially and now demanding that they have children.
Значит, эти рекомендации получает. Ну, уж извините, 4 известные теперь всем буквы ЛГБТ и значок плюс. Это откуда взялось? Причем любые наши попытки сделать там что-то более-менее защитное, немедленно, просто, знаете, вот что-то мы сделали или только сказали, но суток не проходит, как кто-то там на уровне чуть ли не премьер-министра или председателя.
Have they thought that the Russians simply don't feel like the country is stable enough and children have no future there? No, they haven't. All they can do is to create hype that Russia is surrounded by the enemies who want to destroy it. And another news comes from Russian government, and it starts with a lie. I know, please forgive me for saying that. We all know that every time anything comes out of the Russian government, it's a lie. So, what's the news? Russian provinces continue to implement so-called national project called Housing and Urban Development. Quickly, national project in Russia is when Russian government gives money from the federal budget to all provinces to reach specific goal. This particular project, Housing and Urban Environment, is aimed to resettle poor Russians living in the slums with health risks to new housing, paid for by the government. The management of this project just reported that the implementation is ahead of schedule. Since 2017, when all the slums were accounted for and, the program started, 9 million square meters of uninhabitable housing were resettled. That process affected more than 578,000 people. Again, 578,000 people resettled in new housing in the past 6 years. What's so special about this? Well, great for all those people, right? Where's the lie? Well, let's remember last week's news report. I informed you that Deputy Prime Minister of Russian Federation, Marat Khusnullin, a big shot politician and a powerhouse, publicly stated that by 2030, the government plans to relocate 36 million families out of the slums to new housing, which is approximately 80 to 90 million people. 80 million people will be relocated by 2030, which is just 6 years away. We just heard another government official bragging of a huge success that happened, and his work was ahead of schedule. 578,000 people resettled into the new housing in 6 years. In the next 6 years, Marat Khusnullin promised to relocate 138 times more people than it was done in the previous 6 years by this national project, with all the financing available. So he has to work 138 times faster. Is it doable? And how much it will cost to the taxpayers? And are the taxpayers all right with that? What Khusnullin said is a lie. But the news is not about their lies. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. That's obvious. But folks, think about this. The magnitude of their lies. Those guys are good. They're so good. They think big, 138 times faster. Nice. The next news also comes from Russian government, and it also is a lie. Government agencies have brought thousands of Chinese fakes and resold them as Russian-made computers from Russian-made components. There's a new hot high-tech company called LifeTech. Most importantly, it's a Russian company. It assembles computers using Russian tech. At least that's what they say. Why is it so important? The Ministry of Industry and Trade maintains a special register of manufacturers and products that are made in Russia or use Russian-made parts. There's a scoring system, and Russian government agencies are allowed to buy products only with high scores given by that system. In other words, the more Russian is your product, the more chances you have to sell it to the Russian government. That makes sense. And LifeTech computers are as Russian gets. As Russian as balalaika, vodka, matryoshka, the bear, you name it. The record 180 points placed LifeTech computers right to the top of that registry. Where did the points come from? The domestic electronics, chips and semiconductors, for example, a Russian-made motherboard made by a Russian company called Elitech, scored 50 points alone. Great stuff. Finally, they start doing something in Russia. Finally, they're coming up with motherboards, electronics, chips, finally. Well, not so fast. A newspaper bought this so-called Russian computer and just for the fun of it, took it apart. And it turned out that there was zilch of Russian-made components. Zero, nada, none. All components came from, surprise, surprise, China. The amount of government orders received from the government exceeded 100 million rubles. And that's business Russian style. Plenty of vranье, lies, and greed is good. Welcome to today's Russia. The next news comes from Russian aviation industry. Flights from Moscow to Sochi for this holiday season, Christmas and New Year, have gone up in price by 8 times. In late December, a flyer would have to pay at least 16,000 rubles one way, whereas of the other days, tickets would start anywhere from 2.6 thousand rubles. A flight from St. Petersburg to Sochi on December 30th, for example, will cost 18.5 thousand rubles instead of regular 5,000 on normal days. The Russians are upset, but I don't really know why. Well, this is it, folks. The payback has started. That's what you get. That's one of many things that is coming for invading Ukraine. And I hear Russian people saying, Well, that's not fair. It wasn't me. Why do I have to pay for this, with my rubles, with my money? What could I do? I didn't do anything. I didn't press the button. I didn't decide anything. I could decide nothing. Nothing depends on me. Well, my fellow Russians, it was you. You could do much. You could do politically active. You could be politically active. You could act. You could do so much. It's partially your fault. And by the way, mine too. The rough ride has already started. Get bananas that have already tripled in price. Stand in line to buy 4 eggs because you can't afford any more. And book a flight to Sochi paying 8 times more than what you usually pay. And get ready for some more. We're going to pay for it for decades now. So you'd better tighten your waist belts and stop complaining. And the next news comes from the evil Satanic West. Those bad people, no good bums. They're always cooking something against Russia, plotting bad things against good Russian folks. Ugh. This week, the trouble came from Magadan, the far east of Russia. The evil West has succeeded in the operation Raise the Bus Ticket Prices for the Magadanians. The mayor's office of Magadan last week accused the West of increasing the price of travel in cities' minibuses. The representative of the office explained that the increase in the cost of travel in urban minibuses was caused by foreign sanctions pressure by the evil West. Started December 1st, the fare for minibuses has increased by 13%, and now it's 85 rubles when paying cash. And believe it or not, but a lot of Magadanians are feeling the pain in their pockets. At first, it's really hard to disagree with Honorable Mayor of Magadan or his representative. We all know that the evil Satanic West is responsible for every problem Russia has now, and moreover, it's been recently discovered in the state archives that all problems that Russia has always had throughout its history, 1,000 years, all those problems were caused by the evil West. Literally every single problem, except for one little tiny detail. In the case with Magadan minibus fares scandal, perhaps it's not the evil West responsible. The thing is, all the minibuses in Magadan belong to the head of Magadanian parliament, Sergei Smirnov. His company is called Root Auto, and in Magadan, it's the monopolist. So it's Mr. Smirnov responsible for raising prices for bus rides. Perhaps not him personally, but his companies. Well, I could personally understand such decision. What if his family lives not in Magadan? What if in Miami or London or south of France? Do you know how much prices have gone up in Miami and Sunny Isles? And London is ridiculously expensive these days. Kensington, Marylebone, that's where the Russian politicians send their families to live, and that's not cheap these days. And the prices are going up, So of course the prices need to be increased. What you gonna do? You're forced to. And my advice to them, folks, the politicians, the crooked businessmen, do whatever you want, but blame it on the evil West. In Russia, that works like magic. By the way, folks, if you're liking today's news update, please help me spread it by making reposts on your social media accounts. That helps a lot. Thank you so very much. And the next news, here at Crazy News Updates, done every Friday, we have our regulars now. And one of the regulars is General Andrei Gurulev. Yes, that's the guy who said that mobilization laws would not be changed by all means in Russia, and they were changed 1 week later, and Gurulev was one of the authors of that change. That was him saying that 29.5 million Russians who disagree with Putin need to be exterminated, isolated. Many Russians consider him some kind of a clown. But I take Andrei Gurulev seriously. I think he means business. It's just he works slowly. He's using stepping stone strategy that the Russian government usually uses. And he's pretty successful at that. He is the newsmaker this week again. He proposed to reintroduce the death penalty for domestic enemies. And who the domestic enemies would be? Us, regular Russian citizens, who disagree with the Russian president, just like myself and 29.5 million of us. A few weeks ago, he suggested that we are to be isolated and exterminated. Now, in the Russian parliament, he's proposing to return the death penalty. He's taking the real steps. Now, I'm telling you, folks, it gets better and better every week. And these people who say obnoxious things, they all mean business. The next news comes from Moscow. Up to 30% of the retail space in Moscow shopping malls is expected to be empty by the end of this year due to departure of foreign companies. Departure continues. That's what you get for attacking foreign countries and killing innocent people. And the next news is a question to you all. Are the international sanctions placed upon Russia working? That's the question. Many in Russia say that they aren't. You know, I've given it a thought, and I also think that they are not working. I listened to Vladimir Putin's direct line event yesterday where he answered people's questions. And he said that Russia is doing very well.
Вы не можете не видеть, что она улучшается все-таки, правда? Скажите, что это правда.
The Russians are swimming in money, real-life incomes constantly grow, and wages increase. All is well, and the sanctions aren't working. He specified that, by the way. So I agree, the sanctions are not working. I mean, who am I to question His Excellency, the Supreme Leader, Russia's beloved Darth Vader, Vladimir Putin? Oops. Shoot. The wrong button, sorry. The sanctions aren't working. No. Only if you own a foreign car, say a Lexus, an Infiniti, or a Skoda, and you need to service it, for some crazy reason you need spare parts sometimes. Why would you, right? The delivery time of spare parts to Russia for these brands has reached 18 months. Yes, that's 1 year and a half. And yes, that's official information. The wait time for car spare parts before the war used to be, like a minute and a half. Car services and dealers had everything in stock you needed. And now it's a year and a half. Now, folks, remember that joke American President Ronald Reagan told everyone in one of the speeches, a very famous one.
That this man, he laid down his money, and then the fellow that was in charge said to him, okay, come back in 10 years and get your car. And he said, morning or afternoon? And the fellow behind the counter said, well, 10 years from now, what difference does it make? And he said, well, the plumber's coming in the morning.
That's not a joke anymore. That's a reality again. Only this time, it's not quite 10-year wait yet. It's only a year and a half. But it's growing, so it might reach 10 years again. And the sanctions? No, the sanctions aren't working. Year and a half is not a big deal. You can't really say it's working. It's just a year and a half. So they're not. But we are just getting started. Russia's Ministry of Finance also made quite a few news splashes. Those serious folks are important people. They don't not to be disregarded, that Ministry of Finance. So the good folks, financiers, suggested that Russian crypto miners should export cryptocurrencies they mine as if it was natural gas. That was Ministry's official statement, no more, no less. No one in Russia has understood what it means, how Russian crypto miners, or any people for that matter, in the world can export cryptocurrency as if it was natural gas. Well, the Ministry of Finance didn't understand either. They simply did not give any further explanations. Folks, crazier and crazier every single week. I'm telling you, the mad circus continues. Now, how do you know when Russian government desperately needs money? It always needs money, but when desperately, when the despair, tops the scale. It's when adopts the laws just like this one. According to the ruling of Russia's Supreme Court, now the joint property of spouses can be confiscated if one of the spouses is found guilty of committing crime. This is arbitrariness, but who cares? The war with Ukraine is costing lots of money, and the government needs all the rubles it can steal from the Russians. Nothing personal, just business. Well, the war business, or should I say, the war economy. If at this point you're asking yourself, how can I help? The best way is to hit the like button, or you can buy me coffee at buymecoffee.com, or become a patron of the channel at patreon.com. Either way would be absolutely fantastic. The links are down below, and thank you very much. A holiday season is upon Russia. Oh, what a wonderful Christmas time. And the Russians love giving and receiving presents. And this is what they're giving for presents this year. Harry Potter fans, get ready. A Chinese company, Redmi, has released headphones in collaboration with famous franchise. The set includes a themed case and a case with a decoration in the form of golden snitch. You know, folks, I don't get it. Harry Potter has been announced a satanic warlock and wizard by the Russian church. How come you Russian people buying Harry Potter presents? Are you double-faced? Perhaps no? You're lying? Well, pick a side. Are you on the side of darkness or are you on the side of the light? Take this present. It gets even better. It's the Eye of the Sauron. You place it on top of the Christmas tree. It's a hit present in Russia this season. I also don't get it. Who are the Satanists after all? Decent folks would place it on a Christmas tree? Well, I personally love the next present. Had I been in Russia, I'd buy it myself. Absolutely, absolutely. It says 2024, please mercy. And I think this is a very timely present. The next news is business Russian style. Tele2, one of the four major mobile communication providers in the country, will increase its tariffs by more than 10% starting this January. The provider explains to customers that raising tariffs is due to increasing costs. These increasing costs, however, did not prevent Tele2 from receiving record profits by the end of the third quarter of 2023. For the 3 quarters. The profits have increased by 15% year-on-year basis. And this is without increasing the tariffs. Why is this happening? For 2 reasons. In Russia, vranье, lying, is acceptable and greed is considered good. The next news is from the world of cars. As you know, the Chinese automakers now control over 90% of Russian market. Vladimir Putin yesterday, during his direct line, talked about it, and he was proud that Chinese now are dominating Russian auto market. The Chinese cars must be good. Well, that's how good they truly are. Check this out. That happened in the middle of Moscow. A Chinese electric car simply exploded. The driver got burned. And the Chinese manufacturer? The dealer just shrugged his shoulders, saying, Well, shit happens. The Chinese cars, welcome to Russia. The next news is disturbing and funny at the same time. Everyone will be counted. In Russia, the government plans to create a database of bloggers and give them classes. Welcome to the land of the free. Oh, that's wasn't about Russia, sorry. We want more control. We want to own you. Oh, that's Russia. Welcome to Russia. The next news come from the top lady, from the head of Russia's central bank, Elvira Nabiullina herself. I like her. She is usually honest. The only one top person in Russia who is somewhat honest. She was unexpectedly approached by a reporter and asked a question, and she was not prepared to answer. The guy sitting right next to her is none other than Anton Siluanov, the Minister of Finance, who suggested that Russian crypto miners export cryptocurrency as if it was natural gas. So the question was that the reporter was asking was pretty simple, is what we should be prepared for. Dear Elvira, please tell the Russian people what we should be prepared for.
А нам повышение или понижение стоит ожидать ключевой ставки? Что? Просто к чему готовиться морально хотя бы?
And she honestly answered.
Надо быть ко всему готовым всегда.
You should be prepared for anything. But what I really like, look how much fun these people are having. The country's economy, they are in charge. These two people in charge. The economy is going to hell and they're so happy, smiling, worry-free, having a good time. And giving a great advice to the Russian people. You should be prepared for anything. And yes, the Russians definitely should be prepared for anything. I would say for the worst. Good bureaucrats, Nabiullina and Siluanov. You know, I wish every single Russian sees your happy faces. The feast during the plague. And the last news of the week, and that's dead serious and very sad news. Looks like Alexei Navalny is in grave danger, that if he's still alive. He has not been seen or heard from in 10 days now. And that's what happened. On December 6th, Navalny's attorney was not allowed to visit Navalny in the prison. That had not happened before. The next day, the attorney was not allowed again, and the prison administration refused to connect Navalny during Zoom meeting, citing technical difficulties. The same happened for the 3 following days, the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th. On December 11th, prison administration gave an attorney the answer that Navalny was no longer in their prison. The next day, the 12th, the Kremlin surprisingly commented on Navalny's disappearance. Dmitry Peskov said, "We have neither the intention nor the ability to track the fate of prisoners and the process of their stay in the relevant institutions." The next day, December 13th, the rumors started appearing that Alexei was under supervision of doctors. On December 14th, there weren't any news whatsoever. And December 15th, Navalny's attorney was informed in court that Navalny left the Vladimir province where he was serving time on December 11th. Where exactly is unknown. Police is not disclosing and they declined to talk about it. Dmitry Peskov again commented on Navalny's disappearance for the second time. He again stressed that the Kremlin has neither the opportunity nor the rights nor the desire to track the fate of prisoners who serve sentences by court order. So Alexei is nowhere to be found and police is clearly hiding his whereabouts. That's not good. It spells tragedy. I hope he's okay. Dear Lord, please help Alexei Navalny. This is beyond arbitrariness. That word does not describe what's going on. Not even close. 1939, the Red Terror is officially back. They murder political prisoners now. Folks, I don't know what else to say. In my eyes, Navalny is a saint now. And I think there are millions just like me think that. Alexei, I hope that you come back to us alive, well, and lead us someday. And that's it for the news update today. I suggest now you check out another video I made documenting how I was leaving Russia forever. Right here.